Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to tonight's show. We're going to talk some about rotating, finding names that are working for you, how I do it, how some other people in the room do it, and just some general advice when it comes to being able to rotate out of names. We'll talk about today, maybe a few other things. So we'll just see where this takes us. I've had a couple of questions. I'm going to try to answer them in the next 30 minutes or so. This will be a little bit of a shorter show tonight. I've got some plans tonight and I'm not feeling 100%. So we'll go ahead and get started. And while we get going, I'll do my usual. Remember, this is just for entertainment purposes. I'm not offering any type of investment advice or stock picks or accounting or any other type of advice. I'm just here, talking to people and for entertainment purposes. So know that, and you can ignore everything I say. I obviously don't know what I'm talking about. So sorry, I'm reading a comment. Ask me that later, Sufyan. But in short, I just have to click. I put my default contracts in and click them. So let's go ahead and get started. So we had some questions. Rose talked about it afterwards. A few other people talked about it when the day was over. We were kind of hanging out and talking, and it was about finding names that were working. And we've talked about this in previous shows, but to be honest, you're going to hit the same topics when you're doing a podcast style, talking in a chat room with people, because we struggle with the same things as traders day in and day out. We struggle with identifying ways to better ourselves and with actually making those changes live, because a lot of us are high volume traders. Some of us aren't, and I'm actually considering this month in November becoming a lower volume trader, like forcing myself to not trade high volume and to not bend at all. I don't know that I'll be able to do that easily, but to like really just pick trades. And one of the reasons I called myself Gator was like three reasons. One, Will Ferrell, like Gator don't play that. Two, I'm a Florida Gator fan from University of Florida, so I really like the Gators. And then three was when I was thinking about how I wanted to be as a trader. I was like, you want to wait for that good setup. You want to wait for that. And then you want to just attack it once it gets there and just tear it up. And so I was like, an alligator kind of represents that. So those are the three reasons, not that it matters, but those are the reasons that I kind of made up that name for my trading tag, as it were. And then I call this channel that and all those other types of things. So identifying trades and identifying things early. We had three names, and some of them are on the charts here that you can see that we were trying to trade today. There were other ones too. You had Apple, you had Facebook, but Tesla, Amazon, and Google all were kind of going with the market. And we in this room and we in this Discord seem to have a fascination with these names, because these names pay us the most when they're working. Most people in this room, I dare to say, and I'm not bragging, and this isn't what I make, that this is like people in the room have 4-figure to 5-figure days regularly trading these names when they're working. And am I wrong? Like, if you're in chat, am I wrong? Like, when you guys are doing this and you're hitting these names and you're regularly playing them, we completely demolish these names. When there's a trend going and the market's going and the PI is good, we're easily printing 5 figures in here. Like, individually, each one of us are doing that. And I know not everybody and people can get to that area, but that is how we trade. And if you're in here with us, you'll watch us do that. We catch a point to 2 points at a time on 5 to 10 contracts, and we're sitting here doing that for hours. What I notice happens to me, and what I notice happens to other traders, is we almost fall in love with those names, and we get to a point to where we're like, we've made so much on those names that we don't accept when they're not working, because they've worked before. And it's probably because I'm not feeling good, but I can't remember what this is called, but there's some type of psychological name for it, that you're just getting rewarded and rewarded and rewarded for doing this, and then you come in for 2 or 3 days or for a week or two and the names aren't paying, and you're really struggling to make money in those names, and it lets you win enough, like let's say 50% or 40% of the time you're winning and you made enough money, and then all of the sudden it just stops working, And because you've had so much positive gratification from those names, you're almost unwilling or unable to get away from it and to turn away from it. So you're sucked in and you continually try to do something that's broken and that's not going to work. It's kind of like the ex or something like that. Who's like a crazy ex, and you just keep going back to them, or and they're obviously not, they're crazy, they're not working, but you did have some good times or whatever, and you just think about the good times, and you get sucked into that kind of whirlwind, to use a not perfect example. So these stocks, Google, Amazon, and Tesla, can be like that. And they're like that for us. And we have to practice and we have to work on realizing that early. And I think sometimes we do a very good job of it. When I started doing these shows, you can go back and you can hear us saying, hey, we didn't trade Tesla for like 2 weeks. And Tesla had paid us massively. Like, the amount of money I made in Tesla this year is unreal, and it's done great for us. But I didn't trade it for 2 or 3 weeks because I recognized, like, hey, and I wasn't the only one in here, this isn't working. This is choppy. This is garbage. It's not that you can't make money, but if you don't play it perfect, and if you don't catch the perfect entry with the perfect PI and then almost hold the whip that's going to throw you probably off of it, you're going to just get wrecked. And then you're going to jump back in because as soon as you sell, it's popping against you, and you're just having that kind of day. Or you're just having those kind of days. And recognizing that is the reason I had such a huge November. And other people in here had really big Novembers and really good Novembers, was because we recognized that early after Tesla made all-time highs, and we were able to leave it alone and find other names that were working and trade other names that were working. We've made money in Google, we've made money in Amazon and Facebook and Apple as it's been going up. So I was thinking, how can I train myself to find other names and make money in other names? The instant gratification of Amazon, Tesla, and Google give us something. How can I get that in other names? I think for me, and what I've been trying to do, is one, trade a little bit less and look for the other names that have been trending, that have been working. And it's kind of weird to say, but let's look at this chart. What chart do I have up on Discord? Okay, so we have the 9 chart. So let's look really quick at Facebook. Let's go to one chart here. Let's go to Facebook. Look at that in Facebook today. How many of us played Facebook? I wasn't here most of the afternoon, but chat saying a few people saying no. Look at that red bar. We didn't play Facebook. You know how much money we could have made in puts today on Facebook? Like, how many chances were there, if we were rotating right, could somebody has played that? We were all sucked in on Amazon puts and Google puts. Look at this. Some of these are hard, granted. Let's see. Trying to find a trend. I'm sure there was a trend. Obviously down. But at what point could we have noticed that Facebook was just constantly going down? That you could have scalped Facebook low all day long. Look at that drop. Look at this drop when the Qs were going down at the end of the day. Who played Facebook? I know somebody in the VTF played Facebook yesterday and made like 5 points on it. What about Facebook? What about Apple? Like, Apple went red. Later in the day, we were calling it out in the BTF, like, hey, I think if Apple goes red here, the market could go down and puts could be better. What other names? Somebody give me some other names. I mean, everything was kind of selling off. Zoom. I guess I could, yeah, look at Roku. Look at that. It's a 2-minute chart. Look at Roku right there. And there's a reason I'm showing you guys this, and there's a reason we're doing this. Look at that all day, going down. I didn't play it, I don't know how the contracts were, but look at that. If you could get a good entry on it. AMD? Let's look at AMD. AMD. One minute chart. Let's see. Just browsing the 1 minute chart right now. If I look at it after it breaks down, and I'm not comparing this to the Qs, but if you were looking at this, and this is probably when it starts going down, when it starts trending lower, and you're like, hey, look, it looks like it's going down. You could have bought this. You could have started scalping this short. And now, here's the thing. You may not have been able to make a point to 2 points on however many, let's say you do 5 to 10 contracts in the Amazons, the Teslas, and you probably don't do 10 in Amazon, but if you do that kind of trading, what would happen if you took 30 contracts of AMD and scalped it for 10 cents at a time? That's $300 a trade. Are you telling me on this big down move in AMD you couldn't have made, yeah, look at that in AMD. You couldn't have made 10 to 20 cents a trade scalping that down? Really? I bet you could have. mRNA, Moderna. Now, some of these names I don't like, and I don't like to trade them. Look at that big red bar, Moderna. There were lots of names that were going down today. Why did we get sucked in? I say why. We know why we get sucked in, because we make so much money in it. So what we have to do, or I think what could help us, is training ourselves to know that we can make money in other names, like Google. I actually made money in Google today. I know it was hard. Microsoft, look at that Microsoft red day there. Microsoft doesn't look as, there we go. Microsoft looked worse at the end of the day. Is when a trend gets going, I know there are names that we're comfortable with playing, and there are names that we play really well. But there are other names out there where you can make money, and if you're scalping 10 to 30 cents on 30 contracts, that's $300 to $600 a trade. You don't have to make a point if you're changing your size. And I'm not saying, hey, yeah, Netflix was super weak. I'm not saying, hey, size up and definitely take, look at that on the day. Oh, y'all haven't seen that on the daily. And take this massive size. Man, look at Netflix. We didn't call out. I don't think we really, I saw some people say it, but we weren't sitting here saying, hey, Netflix is really weak all day. I should try and find a way to make money in that. So what we have to do a better job of is, I know we can make money in the big names when they're working. But this move in Netflix, we could have made money in. We could have shorted it, and we could have scalped it, and we could have found a way, or a contract probably, to make 10, 20, 30 cents. And if you do that on 10 to 30 contracts, as opposed to smaller size on bigger names, you can make that same amount of money, that same risk reward of, honestly, probably $1,000 or a point. Generally speaking, when we play, we risk double the spread. Well, double the spread in Amazon and Tesla is not double the spread in Netflix, as far as just on whippy option names. So if you can find other names that are working, and how we can find those and how we can mess around with those is, I think we could do it with 1 or 2 contracts. Instead of trading, yeah, AMC, I see other names. So instead of trading names that we're comfortable with trading, that we traded a lot, when the day's choppy or when a name's not working, and we define when a name's not working by, hey, it's, we lose 3 or so in a row. It's like you're winning, and and you lie to yourself when you do it, but when you're trading and you're like, this isn't working, I'm going to make it work, and it happens in your head, and I'm going to keep talking about this until we get better at it, and you get sucked out of OODA loop, and you get tunnel vision, and you get sucked into that name, be it Amazon, Google, or Tesla, or one of the other ones. That's just like, you just know how much it can pay you if it's going to work, and you're going to hit it till it works. It's not always going to work, but there might be other names that are working. If as part of your daily strategy, when the stuff's not working, if instead of getting mad and trying to catch the next big move that you keep missing in those names, maybe you size down to 1 contract. If you're somebody like me, who obviously is 10 to 30 contracts on average size, more in some other names, but you go to 1 contract and you find something that you're winning, something that's not chopping you out. Can I go and play a few Netflix red takes green on this negative day? So if you have like Netflix and you're playing the 2 minute, every time I get a green bar and I have a red bar take it out, am I able to make money? Maybe not. Maybe I made some here. You know, am I able to make money in this? Honestly, you probably would have been able to. There, you could have made money there. So, can I find, by even if it's the midday, looking at a chart, looking at a 2-minute chart, oh, and that would have been fun. Looking at a 2-minute chart or something like that, a 1-minute chart, and say, looking back at your day, let's say it's halfway through the day, you know, we're in here, it's like a little past 12 o'clock, Netflix has gone down, look at it and be like, huh, I wonder how, if there's a pattern I can pick up on it, and wait, say, you know what, I'm going to wait for it to get above this moving average, I'm going to try it when it breaks down, and maybe, you know, if I can get a good entry, hold it for a little bit. That's a 2-minute chart. I think doing that and practicing making money to prove to yourself that you can make money on other names will help you not be as reliant or even as bent on names like Tesla, Amazon, and Google, because when they don't work, they wreck you. And in order for half the time, in order once we get sucked in and we don't trade very well in those names, the only way that we really make our money back is if at some point in that day they start working, or we get really lucky on news flow or something like that, or an obvious trend comes out and somebody's searching the market. But if we spent, and I'm going to challenge myself to do this, and I want to challenge you guys to do this if you want to do it, is create a list. And you're looking at my one chart, but if you're watching on YouTube, and I'll share the other one with you, if you use TC2000, here's my 4 chart layout. I have this little list here on the side that you can see, this little watch list that I can rotate between names. I'm going to work on finding ways to make money in all of those names. And I'm not saying take 100 contracts in Facebook and just smack it. And I'm not saying, you know, play everything like I play Tesla in those names, but begin to learn other names. Begin to learn Facebook better when it's trending and when it's working. Facebook has been weak a while. I made some money in Facebook this week. It seems to be something that has been falling down. Look at this in Facebook today. Just holy crap. That's just a, you know, money move to the short side. So finding ways to get so comfortable playing that when you see trends in those names, you don't think you have to make a point to win. Because I think sometimes we get sucked into the habit of, I have to make 50 cents to a point, or this name is going to pay me so well when it works. I'm used to making $1,000 to $2,000 when I'm right, instead of just scalping 10 to 20 cents at a time in a name that's honestly probably easier to play if you're getting chopped up in Amazon and Tesla and some of our more regular names. Yeah, RBLX. And yeah, Sufyan's saying some of these names are tough and some of the spreads are tough. I would, generally speaking, don't trade Netflix because it moves like Amazon but with no volume and bad PI and bad spreads. So we have to know the names. You know, Facebook generally has tight spreads and does move pretty decently. I can regularly catch 10 to 20 cents on Facebook when it's trending without a lot of problems, especially if you use the stochastic setups and stuff like that and you buy when the 1-minute bar crosses. And I think if we can train ourselves to do that, if we can focus on that, when things aren't working, when we can't seem to make money in something else right away, instead of trying to guess when the next breakdown is going to be, we could be okay with missing the big breakdown in one of those names like Tesla and Amazon, and we could focus in and locate something like Facebook or Apple or Moderna or AMC, that, or, you know, letter U or something that we can actually make money in and make less money in, so we can just add up those small wins, add up those small wins, and add up those small wins. And one thing I do is when I'm losing, and let's say I try a mark 1 and I don't play it right and I lose, I get chopped out of it, and then I have a know your limit 8 and I try the same thing and it doesn't work and I lose, and then I try a 1 and done because I missed that one and it doesn't work, and let's say I lose on 2 or 3 different strategies, I get chopped up and whipped out, and then it goes. For me, I'm done with it at that point. That, to me, even if the name is working, lets me know that I'm not playing that name right. And sometimes it's just about your timing and your ability to see a name and to be able to make money in a name. And the name can be strong, and you can be doing really good, and you could be playing the right name, but you're just not playing it right. And it doesn't mean that you're wrong. It doesn't mean that the strategy is bad. It just means you're not, maybe you're slow. Maybe you didn't sleep good last night. Maybe you didn't have a cup of coffee, or, maybe something is bothering you, or they're, for me, kids that are crying in the background and I can't focus and I'm clicking the name 5 seconds late. And so I'm missing the move. I'm getting whipped out and I'm not seeing everything clearly. So maybe some of the stuff like that is happening and you're unable to play a name right. Recognize that and adjust. Maybe if you have a bigger account, you should be playing common in some of these names. You can play, depending on the size of your account, you could play common in Apple, you could play common in Facebook. And some of these other names, no, AMD, AMC. No, you're not going to make the same amount of money, but it doesn't have to be about making 1,000 or a point. I just say $1,000 because 10 contracts, a point. But it doesn't have to be about making that much. You can let the smaller wins add up, let your winning percentage get better, so you're in the rhythm of winning and in the rhythm of finding something that works and in learning new names to trade. Tim, that was you and AMD. Good. On Monday? Yeah. And you made, I think, bank, you were saying, AMD on Monday doing that. And it can be done. Some of my biggest days I've made in names that aren't Tesla, Amazon, and Google, because I find another name that's working, like Facebook or AMD or something, and I'm just sitting there printing 30 cents at a time and then selling, and then another 30 cents at a time, and on contracts. For you guys who are saying, oh, you can't make money in Apple, or I have to buy so much of the Apple shares, you can buy Apple contracts. You can go in the money with Apple contracts. The ones near the money, depending on the day of the week, are what, like $1 or $2. And generally speaking, you're not going to make great on those. You might make 10 cents or lose 10 cents. So maybe that's a good, contract to practice on. But if you go out of the money, they have contracts that move. If Apple pops 10, 20 cents, the contracts move 10, 20 cents. Like, go out of the money, $50, or not $50, but $20 or something like that, and watch the contracts move. One other thing, is, let's go to, what was the name that was hard? Tesla at some point? Here's what I find is hard in Tesla, and in other names, but in Tesla specifically today, and I've had a hard time playing it. Until the end of the day, when it really sunk, I didn't make money in Tesla. It was very, very hard for me to make money in it. Because, let's see if I can find a good example. What chart are y'all looking at? I'm going to switch y'all back to my other chart. Here we go. Let's see. Kind of hard to it's hard to review this after the fact, but here's how Tesla played for me, and here's why I didn't make money in it throughout most of the day until the end of the day. Is it would do something like this. It would pull back up, and you were like, hey, and that's kind of a Mark 1 short, and then go down, it'd be right here, and then it would whip right back up. And then it would go here, it would rip down, but you can't tell on this candle. It might have popped back up, and you're like, oh crap, I sold, and then it went back down. And then it went over here, and it did whatever it did, and then it popped back up, and then on this next candle, like, it looks like it went lower and you could have made money, but it could have went down, popped all the way back up, and then went down. And this is how Tesla did. Look at this next candle. Popped all the way up, almost to the top of this candle, so at one point, you could have thought this was going to go green, and then it drops back down on you. And then look at the next candle, same thing. And so all these candles that basically like filled out the entire previous candle makes, when Tesla does that, I cannot play it. Unless I'm getting really good PI, I have a very hard time playing it. Some days I do, but a lot of times it's hard. And that's one of those things that you just have to be on. And sometimes I'm just seeing things perfectly, and I can make those plays, and I can scalp that, and I can make money in Tesla doing that. But I get shaken out so many times today when I was playing that. So I pretty much quit playing it until the end when we were talking about, like, hey, I think over here I played it some, and I caught, I don't know, 2 or 3 points or something. But all that really did was, I think, get me back to even from what I had lost trying to play these little breakdowns when they would whip up and go down, and then whip up and go down, and whip up and go down. So when a name is doing that, I think you're better off, like, instead of trying to play Tesla, if I would have gone over and just played Facebook, I bet you anything I would have made, I would have had a 5-figure day. I know I'm in DWAC calls overnight. I'm in them at $3, and right now I think they were up like 10 points or so. Not the calls, but the names. So who knows what I'm going to be up tomorrow? I hope they're up more than that. Maybe they'll be down. I don't know, but I could have made a lot of money in Facebook today. I could have played in a lot of money in other names today. And I don't know if this is overly helpful to y'all, and maybe it just sounds simple, but a way to get out of falling in love with the charts and the names that pay us so well is learning that other names can pay you really well too. If you have a 5-figure day only playing Facebook, I bet you're going to be much more happy going and playing Facebook. If you find a way to do the same thing in Apple, when Apple's working, I bet anything you're going to be much happier to go back to Apple and to find a way to play Apple in the future. You don't have to do it all in those names and in these big names. You could do it in other names. So I think that was the message for me today, and it's a mix of what we've talked about before, which is OODA loop, which is focusing, which is knowing when a trade's not working and stopping. Remember, we're scalpers. We jump into things, we jump out, and so we can really scalp our days away very, very, very fast if we don't quickly identify what's not working. And I think a reward system in our head to help us identify when things aren't working is, hey, something's not working. I know I can make money in Facebook. I know I can make money in Apple. For me, I never play Boeing no matter what happens because I've never been able to make money in it. But if you can make money in Boeing, you're like, hey, I know how to make money in that name, and you're willing to go over there and try it, that will give you that reward in your head to be able to switch and to be able to actually go and play those names when things are difficult and when things are hard in the names that you generally like to play. And you're not going to feel like you're missing out on something, or that you're losing because you're not able to make money in this name. And you'll have more confidence in yourself as a trader. You'll have more confidence in yourself when you get down money. You'll get more confidence in yourself when you just need to make money, because you'll know that there are other names that are out there that you can play with confidence. And there are some days when I can play and I can hold things and I have a lot of confidence, and there are other days when I don't. A lot of it's my entry point, like when I'm in. If I'm green in something and I get good price improvement, because playing Apple and Facebook, you do get price improvement sometimes. You might get filled in the middle of the bid and the ask on a 10-cent spread, so you got 5 cents on either side of you. You can get price improvement in those names playing contracts. And even if you don't, if there's only a 10-cent spread or a 5-cent spread, 2 to 3 cent spread, that's not a big risk compared to trading Tesla and trading Amazon and some of those other names. So you guys know, and we know how to identify those when we're having a hard time and when things aren't working. I think something we can do better and that we need to work on is identifying other names that we can make money in and that we can help other people make money in. And that only comes with practice. And I think the best way to do that is to take 1 or 2 contracts, if you have an account where you can do that and you're up money that day and you're feeling confident, you're feeling good, and you just scalp around with Facebook and you see how Facebook feels if it's trending, like today when it was trending down. You don't have to make money in it, because if you can learn how to make money in it, you can make money in it another day. But if you're playing with 10 contracts or 5 contracts in something like Facebook, not a lot of risk, but you can really learn a lot. Yeah, Booth is getting good at rotating to different names. Finding different names that work and rotating into them. Finding ways to make money in different names is going to help you grow as a trader and is going to help you develop yourself. Yes, you can always come back to the big names, and when, the girl stops treating you bad and she realizes, whatever, and she wants to come back to you and she wants to play really well like Tesla and Amazon do sometimes, we're going to sit there, we're going to print 5 figures in the first hour of the day playing those names, and then we're going to go have fun. Or we're just going to keep printing money. But some days aren't like that. And some days we have to be able to sit back, identify other names that are working and trending, because a lot of us didn't play Facebook today when it was working because we were sucked into Amazon. We didn't detach from the market. We didn't detach from what we wanted to do. A lot of us didn't play AMD. If you look at that on the daily, everything was down, and we stuck ourselves in names that were hard to play. And they did pay us, but they were hard. And I think we could have made a lot more money in other names. So that's my, any questions, any thoughts on that? Identify that chop early, feel the chop, know when it's happening, find other names to make money in. Practice doing it throughout the day with 1 or 2 contracts just for fun. Have fun. Be like, hey, look, I can make 10 cents, 10 cents, 10 cents. You know, I can make $1,000. Scalping Square, scalping Facebook. Playing around in these names. It sounds easy. It sounds simple. You know, it sounds boring, but that's a positive change that you can make that can help you become a better trader, and that I am actively working on to become a better trader, is to broadening my, excuse me, is broadening my trading names. Trading is kind of like fishing. Thank you. I tried to let go of the button. I don't guess I did. Trading is broadening my my tools, broadening the ways I can make money, broadening the strategies, finding green takes reds and other names. How does Facebook react when there's a green takes red? How does Square react? How does Apple react? Finding things like that and then playing those 2-minute green take reds. And those smaller names, you can probably make 30 to 50 cents on something on 30 contracts if you find those names that work really well there. You limit your risk. Adapt and become better. Questions or thoughts before I call it? It's 8:30. I wanted to end right at 8:30, so shorter show tonight, like I said, about 30 minutes, but I've got a few minutes, so so Chase, for those names, a lot of times with he's saying with Apple, Facebook, AMD, they don't have great PI, so you're not instantly up a lot of money, and they do whip around a little bit sometimes before they go. Know your risk, and let's go to, like, today wasn't a good day because things went down. I generally trade things that go up. Let's see. Let me go to Facebook. Or you didn't say Facebook, did you? You did. So first, you have to identify the strategy that you want to play. Like, let's say you want to play, a know your limit 8, and you're like, hey, I want to play Facebook off of an 8. So let's look at it here. We'll say after it broke day lows. So here's how I would do this. If I was playing Facebook today, guys, if you're on YouTube, say hey to my dog. If you are playing Facebook, here's something similar that I would do. I would have seen this, hey, it broke down through day lows, so it's now red. Y'all can see this, right? Yep. So it broke down. It's now red on the day. I want to buy it the next time it hits a moving average. And this may have hit it, and it may not have, but it went up, and I want to buy the next 1-minute breakdown in Facebook. How I generally play it is once it gets close to that moving average and it starts going in the other direction, I would have bought this candle right here where my cursor is. Like, I don't wait for it to get down here. I buy, like, at this side of the candle. And if I'm giving it room, I would then give it maybe to the top of this candle. And I can always just buy back in because you're not getting a ton of spread and a ton of whip. And then Facebook does drop down. I might be up 10, 20 cents here. Maybe not. I don't know what I'm up. And then it scalps around here. This is when it shakes you out, right? Or it could shake you out. And then it drops down. Well, if you sell, let's say you took 20 contracts and you sold 10 contracts when you're up, and then you just sit in the rest of your contracts here and you're never red. And maybe you tell yourself, I'm going to let those contracts go back to break even. All right, or I'm just going to sell them when I feel like I'm done with it, depending on what the stochastics are doing. And I could look at my other chart and find out where that is. And use stochastics to buy it. And I would buy a little bit earlier when I want to buy the trigger. And then maybe I do. Maybe if I was buying this here, let's say I wanted to buy this 1-minute breakdown here, maybe I give it this whole candle. And I give it the whole minute no matter what it does because Facebook isn't as aggressive and I take a smaller size in it. I say, you know what, I'm going to trade it and I'm going to give it a full minute. And I'm going to give it that full minute to make money instead of selling it, and I'll say, hey, I'm just going to give it a little bit more room, let it whip me in, let it whip me out, and I might try that. So it's about trying something that works and doesn't work. Yeah, you always front run the trigger. I never buy the trigger. The only thing I buy the trigger at is the green takes red, and even then I front run it by a few cents. So, 1 second, almost done. So I do have to go, guys. Sorry I can't stay on. Feel free to message me. You can, if you're on YouTube or anything, you can write in the comments. If you're in Discord, you can message me directly or anything else, and I can try to answer your questions a little bit more or expound on them a little bit deeper. And if you have ideas for different shows, if you would like me to talk about anything specifically, like I said, I will be doing some trade reviews in the future and different stuff like that, including how I play these strategies to kind of help people get there. But I hope today was a good reminder, as Tim said, to stay flexible, to be able to rotate, to detach. There's a reason we're called the rotation crew and not to put on a ring on it crew. We're not the Tesla trading room, the Amazon trading room, even though those are always on our watch list. We rotate. We find stuff we like and we rotate to ways to make money. We don't get married to a stock and we don't get married to an option. We find something that's working. The moment it doesn't, kick it to the curb, find something else. That should be your mindset in this market, and sometimes that mindset has to do with playing different names. It's not always the same name, and if you recognize that and you can make those changes, I think you're going to be better off as a trader for it. Easier said than done, especially when you constantly get rewarded from those good names, but get rewarded from the other names and you'll be a lot happier with going to them. So with that being said, thank you everybody. I appreciate you hanging out with us tonight, for talking, for the questions, and for spending your time watching the video. I will talk to you all soon. I'll see you tomorrow in the market. Have a good day.